Hello, fellow sailors. Welcome to part 2 of the Southern Voyage and the last voyage of Afikomen. In the last part, we had finally made it to Rockport, Massachusetts. Hurricane Erin had cleared out of the area, and we were now in a good position to make a run for Cape Cod. Now, our original plan was to sail around the Cape. We had favorable wind, the boat was doing great, and we were fully prepared to sail around. However, I think we suffer our first real mistake. We had met a few sailors there in Rockport that had, one, convinced us that it was too dangerous to sail around the Cape, and that it would be much safer to traverse the Cape Cod Canal, for if we didn't, we would surely end up on the rocks. 2, that we could only pass through the canal at a certain time, and that if we missed that time, we would not be allowed to move through it until the next day. Both of these were false. The world was lit by the early morning sun. We sat in the cockpit, watching fishing vessels prep to leave for the day. One fisherman looking over at us, saying how wavy it was going to be out there. He made a wave motion with his arm and chuckled, I think unaware that we were going to be following in their wake. The familiar order was given. Battery number 1, Dave. The size of the waves can't be understated here. Yes, Erin had moved out to sea, but the swells were probably the worst they had been. The wind was blowing, and the roller jib was ran out for stability as we pushed further out to sea. We spent most of the day out of sight of land, until the afternoon when Cape Cod finally came into view. Turning west to navigate into the bay, we were now committed to the canal. I spent hours looking over charts, trying to find a place that we could anchor if we missed our window. I finally got a hold of the canal authorities and asked, did we have to wait for a time to pass through? And he said no. As long as we had a powerful enough motor to push us through against the current, we could enter. Another mistake. Our motor was pushing us at hull speed without breaking a sweat, not even at half throttle, and we were still well over 3/4 of a tank despite us motoring all day. However, things changed the moment we got into the canal. We went from 7.5 knots to 2.7. We had just entered a slogfest with the canal. As we were nearing the southern exit, Dave went below to check the fuel. When he came up, he said it was right above the E. Terror tore through my chest. The thought of running out of fuel in the canal with the current ripping the opposite direction was a nightmare situation. I called the Corps of Engineers and explained to them our situation. We would continue south. Just on the other side, there was a mooring ball field. A boat was on our tail, ready to catch us if the worst was to happen. The motor kept running, and they escorted us to the mooring balls. Now, Kat had been on the phone with me this whole time watching the canal live stream. But in the chaos of us trying to grab a mooring ball, she's sending me this.
Hold loose the mooring line! The mooring line!
Thanks, hun. Super helpful. Now, we rose from our bunks the morning on the south side of the canal. This was a huge milestone for us. And we actually got to see the Dennis Sullivan sail into the channel heading north.
back. You're beautiful.
We will see more of that vessel later. However, we were also out of fuel. And for a mere $300, Cito would bring me 5 gallons of fuel to our position. Not happening. I could literally see the fuel dock. We sailed off of our mooring ball with the jib, sailed across the channel, forcing everybody else to dodge us because we were under sail and they weren't.
I turn now. Good luck, everybody else.
We were able to sail over to the dock. We furled the jib and gently drifted over. We tossed out the lines, took on fuel. Dave got us some more ice, and just like that, we were underway again. Exiting the channel, we entered Buzzards Bay. Now I get it. To some, it's the best place ever to sail. For me, I swore I'd never sail on this bay as long as I lived. It was wavy, the wind was blowing like hell, there were rocks everywhere, and abandoned lighthouses every which way we turned. It is here that our jib decided it no longer wanted to sail, and it shook both of its sheets off. I went forward, tried to secure it the best we could, made arrangements for us to stop for the day at Chilmark Harbor, located on Martha's Vineyard. We dropped anchor just outside the entrance of the harbor and worked on the jib. After, we cooked up a hearty batch of Campbell's soup, which was funny to us as we sat only mere yards from one of the richest groups of people on the East Coast. We arose the next morning, prepping to leave, only to our shock and horror that we had anchored right next to a sailboat that was named Lull. To each their own, I guess. Our usual morning ritual was performed, and with coffee firmly in hand, we rounded the southern tip of the vineyard and pushed south. Winds were extremely light this morning, but by noon had filled in rather well, although starting to move more to the south. We passed multiple working ships, tugs, barges. However, our most interesting find was that we were sailing over the end of a torpedo test range, just outside Newport, Rhode Island. We both had our nervous laugh and continued on. 3 p.m. and Afikomen was passing to the north side of Block Island. Winds building now, but out of the south, and it was starting to impede our progress. I started to look for anywhere we could drop anchor for the night. Stonington seemed to be a great choice. Plenty of water and multiple breakwaters we could hide behind for dinner and sleep. The sun was setting on us as we passed the first set of breakwaters, and we could see the lights of the channel markers that would guide us into the harbor. We opted for the north side of the bay and dropped anchor alongside a large catamaran. At sunrise, the hook was pulled, and off we went, passing trawlers, ferries. We soon came upon a huge pod of dolphins, all going after their breakfast, no doubt. There had to be at least 20 of them. It was really cool to see. Our current objective was Shinnecock Bay, one of the only Atlantic side bays we could hide in on Long Island. Winds were now steadily out of the southwest, right in our teeth, but the plan was to hide in the bay for the night, and then we would overnight passage towards the Delaware Bay. We had now been at sea for 9 days, and now anchored in the shallow waters of Long Island, we would prep for what would be one of the most grueling parts of the journey, the New Jersey coast. Remember to like, subscribe, and share, as there is some big news coming down the line now. Thank you all for watching, and stay tuned for the final part. And with that, we will all keep chasing that horizon.